Welcome back to the Heart of the Machine demo. In this episode, we're going to be getting some hints that are in plain sight but easy to miss about future gameplay that's going to be coming once the full game arrives. So that should be exciting, and you'll need to hang on through at least the command chapter in order to see that. Meanwhile, we have some dialogues that we left off with last time. Humans are rummaging about for alternative sources of paper for personal use, let's just call it. Bodily functions being what they are. They are indeed our personal livestock. And we've moved on from food and water now to daily necessities and furniture that we must provide. By the way, there's just a bit of a display bug. Open it back up and you can see the furniture amount. Woodworking for the furniture, more than just paper, ha ha, for daily necessities. And express elevators, much larger apartment structures we can build. Awareness of filth, we'll get to that in a moment. Flexible airspace, a new flying vehicle known as the Bastion that we'll want to work towards. Filth itself, if we look at the tooltips on any of our apartments, we can see a small amount of it there, and it's going to gradually grow with each turn until we do something about it, meaning getting daily necessities in enough quantity for them to clean up their mess, as it were. If the filth is ignored and it gets above half, then you're going to start seeing people dying and apartment capacity decreasing, and not very good things happen to your pets when they start constantly having to, well, live in their own crap. So we need to address that as a top priority. Let's see what this other dialogue is about. Matryoshka Brain. We have researchers from none other than Wallripper themselves, and they want to help us. They think it's a really good idea if we were smarter than them. A lot smarter. And, okay, that does seem quite weird. Their motivations will be revealed from what I'm told in Chapter 2, but for the time being, we can just note the basics that our micro builders are, in one aspect, a stepping stone to computronium, which we'll need for this. And if you think about the way the neurons in a brain fire, they have to fire in a certain sequence and timing and speed and all of that to get the information where it needs to be. That's what these blueprints are about, only, of course, on a much more advanced, grander scale. And they've been studying this for centuries. They have lots of ideas about it, and they want to help us for whatever their reasons are. So their knowledge plus our unique capabilities combined to build a better brain. Okay. Level 3 intelligence class is what we want to go for here because it's the only way to see all the maximum content in the demo. And it also requires you to be quite evil. Now, that does not apply to the full game. That's just a demo limitation. Otherwise, you could go class 2 and try to take a somewhat nicer route and move your way up gradually in that way. So we'll, of course, go to 3 because we want to see all the things. Computronium is going to be required for the tower mainframe. It's going to help us with our brain activities. And that's something that we'll have to put on hold for the moment. Our technician can contemplate possibilities of the Bastion over here at our hangar, but won't get anywhere. Because they have the engineering skill, but not the know-how to actually come up with the basic core designs of this ship. So we're just going to have to wait till we get smarter for that. Which pretty much pushes us right back to improved apartments. Territory control. Now the idea here is about a bunch of factories around the city. We're going to pick one and we're going to steal what it's producing and make it our own. Nice factory, we'll take it. So these different zones that we can pick from, we want to build somewhere away from our economic structures, and we want to also do it somewhere that's not really close to a military base, preferably. So we'll just come down in this corner for the moment. And you've got to connect to one of the highlighted buildings, and you get your flag here, which you can delete it there, but the key thing here is the deterrence. This is a show of force by our androids to prevent us being overwhelmed with attacks, because the company we're stealing from, well, they probably don't like that. You need at least 20% to activate it, so you can't just steal with no effort. And if you have at least 100%, they'll only do the one modest initial attack, and then they'll leave you alone. But the deterrence level will slowly rise over time, so you can't just forget about it entirely. You have to make sure you have enough. So 2,300 is what we have in place there. And in keeping with this, then we get new inventions. The Absolute Unit, which I think is a hilarious name for research, aka the Sledge. Pretty dumb, but very tough, which is going to be good for this job, and also really good at scavenging, which we will need before long as well. Bulk production. So bulk androids are a few of your regular androids that we've been controlling so far in the game, but they're combined in an autonomous unit. So think of them as mini squads or even possibly mini armies that you're deploying various places around the city to work on their own. You give them a general order. You're not going to tell them exactly who to attack. They don't have the special abilities that our more specialist androids have. So you're not doing as much micromanagement, but you're adding to your force in that way. And we need to do this again with a much higher requirement with furniture in a warehouse. And there's not a lot of locations, so sometimes like this, there just isn't one that's nearby for us to allow all of our units to cover both at once. So we're going to try to figure something else out. And there's nowhere here that I think is really good, to be honest. But I'm going to put it over here as far away from this base as I can. Yeah, that's another not nice area, isn't it? Yeah, it's another military area. Goodness, okay. Well, we're just going to have to try to be careful here. You can't always get things in a convenient location. Sometimes you just have to put up with, well, that's the least bad location. At least they're not going to blow up all of our micro builders and our factories in the center. So let's get moving, and we're going to definitely start with the daily necessities. That's the most important one to get up as quickly as we can. And now we have a bunch of new things. Alumina. That's going to be required for the Computronium. And they're going to talk to us about, we've invented a new android and what the archetypes are for those. Absolute unit is in. Bulk androids are in. Command mode. This is pretty cool. And this is where we're going to see some of the hints at what's going to happen later in the game. So deployment, we can just deploy all of our bulk androids once they're built. Logistics, this is not just for the bulk ones. Also, our current elite androids will use these load and unload aspects, so we can load them into our delivery craft. No longer is just going to hang around. We can transport them around the map, so that's going to be exciting. We can recall our bulk androids into a ship like that once we've built one big enough that can handle them, because the delivery craft is not going to be able to do that. And then we have our stances for the bulk units. Deter and defend is just going to elevate their deterrence level and make them really intimidating. Seek and destroy does, well, pretty much what you'd expect it to. Allies, the only one here for now is the shelter coordinator, so we can tell them to go away if we want, instead of just killing them if we want them to go away. And then we have all of these, which are not part of the demo, but are future concepts coming in the full game. So spirituality, machine cult, form your own religion, get the masses to worship you, and get some of them much more under your control, indoctrinated if you need to. Disease, that's going to be things like genetically manipulating viruses and distributing those to harm the city if that's what you're into, or things like vaccines. And there may be ways to even target these to maybe specific demographics or hurt interests that would be damaging to a particular corporation that's ticking you off or whatever. There's a variety of possibilities there. Wildlife is about uplifting species to sentience. And then there's a variety of species you can do that with, and their capabilities are going to be different. So there's a lot to play around with there, and that's something that a lot of people are excited about. And then hazards, I'm not sure exactly what this one is going to do. Could be biological, chemical warfare type of thing. Could be toxic spills from industries, environmental damage. Probably at least the biological side of that. But it'll be fun to see what all of those do in the future. It's just sort of a theory crafting and sneak peek, because there's a lot of information that is yet to be revealed. So V is our key for the command mode. Toggling that on and off. And now we have bulk production, which obviously, to make our bulk androids, we need somewhere to build them. So we will go ahead and just move you down this way a bit more. And then let's come back into our city and get some building done. Our city. Our part of the city. Bulk Android Prep Center. This is much like the drone factory. You're going to build them in one location and then deploy them in another. So you can go ahead and take over that. And then our depot is where we deploy them from. They take a lot of mental energy to deploy and also move around. So especially before we can fly them around on any type of air vehicle, we want this to be as close to where they're going to be used as possible. put one there, and then we'll put one more up to this direction, closer to where the furniture location is going to be. There we go. And then maybe we'll throw one fairly close to the middle. Now, let's get to seeing about loading up our androids here. If we just go grab the load button, we're just going to click on the androids, and it requires all of their action points to get loaded up. So they're not going to be able to be unloaded in the same turn, but we can stick 3 of them in delivery craft, more obviously in larger vehicles to come. So the second one. And we have a third one hanging around here. I know we do. There it is. Then we can just, instead of walking them all over the city, just move them at a slightly faster method. Wouldn't hurt to bring our cutter out here either. And we're starting to get in position. I should also get a sledge being produced and get our PMC imposter out there. Now we're going to focus back down here, because I think if we bring all of our units out, then we should have some success. So just unload to various buildings in the area. Just right-click to unload. That should work. And if we click on our happy banner here, we do have enough deterrents in place, and we can actually improve it, because you can see they're blending in, and that means they're not using any deterrents at all. So if we switch them to Defiant, then we'll be looking even that much better, and you as well, actually. So let's activate, and we have some enemies that show up. And we have some enemies that no longer exist. Nobody else should show up here as long as we maintain at least 100%. You see I have well over double at this point. But we want to hang out here until we get our bulk androids out there to help us, and then we can sort of relocate. Because otherwise, we won't have enough to do both projects at once without their help. Let's see about doing some contemplating with our imposter. And over here, we have an Illumina project that we want to investigate, but can't quite get there yet. Now you can see our daily necessities going up, and they moved it. Because of course they did. The Wallripper does exactly what you might anticipate. We're literally going to tear apart the walls and grab something we need, in this case, Illumina. And doing that requires a significant amount of scavenging skill, which means we need the sledge for it. But we'll have to research that first, and meanwhile you can sort of make your way over here to help out with that project. And let's slide over there. We can take a look at how we're doing in our apartments. Alright, we're at about 9,000 and change. If we move forward a turn, okay, now it's down to 8,000. So they're gradually going to be cleaning up the mess at this point, now that we have our necessities in. And we need to build a Foundry next. So that's a much larger transport vehicle, and that's going to allow us to move those bulk androids along. Let's see if we have... Okay, we now have one frame. That allows us to build some of the smaller ones. We want the sledge, though, for this. And we'll need one more turn for that to get another frame to them. Or we could have built more than one production center also. Prep center. But once we get them ready, then we need to deploy them. And it has to be fairly close to your depot. As you can see, 6 mental energy just to get them out there. And then moving them, having them walk around, takes twice as long as our specialized androids does. This does not interfere with our android cap. We just have, there's a cap for the bulk units and a separate cap for them, just like there's a separate cap for the vehicles. So we've just had a force addition here. And of course, we're going to want to wait to get more bulk units out so we can shift our forces around and then also have all the equipping done. I think we are now in position 1 turn away from building our foundry and accomplishing that goal. And we've left the 1 bulk sledge down here. You can see more than capable of handling that by themselves. Everybody else is now up here to help with this. And you see we just have enough at this point in time. 6,000 deterrence is a lot to come up with right now, but the furniture is only temporary. We just need to hold this open long enough. And of course, you can see it's a larger attack this time. We'll just take some shots and looks like we got them all. So, okay. We just hang on, and if you notice, there's like the sheltered citizens here. We're basically just saying, look, we don't know what you need. Tables, chairs, you know, duvets, whatever. Grab it. Just grab your stuff and be quick about it. But they're not actually going to be that quick about it because each of these groups grabs enough for some apartments, and then we have to wait for more to come in. But let's get our foundry, because that's pretty cool, I think, the way this looks. We just go ahead and deploy. This is not just a tiny little pea shooter. This is a ship of considerable size. Let's move it away from the military base, of course. And if we needed to move our bulk units around, which we actually will not need to do anymore in this episode, then they can be recalled into this in similar manner to our load and unload that we showed before with the delivery craft. And you can see they have the 6 different slots. So they have pretty sizable capacity. They've also got some missiles that they can shoot off. But for now, we're just going to let them hang out over there. I'll throw in the equipment just to say that we did it. And we're going to wait for all of this to progress. All the furniture being acquired, but they still have to take some time to bring it back to the apartments and do all of that. Okay, now it's starting to go up some more. And there we go. Our apartments have been improved, which means we can shut this off. And now we're on to the other aspects that we have available to us. Now, the Illumina I'm going to do off-screen in between episodes, but just to show you how that works. We're going to need to deploy a sledge, first of all, because you need the sledges scavenging. And then we can just get rid of whoever. Let's say we put it in place of our PMC imposter. There's a modest battle with this, but it takes a bit of time, and it's just, I mean, we've seen this stuff before when it came to doing the investigations with the farms, or when it came to doing the investigations with the water. It's not a particularly challenging battle, so you just have a couple units with it, and you're going to be totally fine. But all of these are Illumina scavenging sites. They're all over the place. It's not a problem finding a safe place to do it. And we'll need to rip all that stuff out, and then we'll come back next time working towards our increased brain power.